Let's remind ourselves of the story of Zacchaeus, the corrupt tax collector, and his encounter with Jesus, which changed his life.
Once there was a man named Zacchaeus, let's call him Zach, who lived in a town called Jericho. He was short, and he didn't have many friends. In fact, most people hated Zach. That's because he worked as a tax collector. See, back then people paid taxes just like now. But instead of sending money to the government, there were men in every city whose job was taking tax money from people. Problem is, those men usually lied. Zach, like most, took a lot of extra money from a lot of people, and all those people hated him. Anyway, one day Jesus came to Zach's town, and Zach wanted to see him, but so did everybody else. And remember how Zach was really short? Well, he couldn't see Jesus over everybody else's head. So guess what he did? He actually climbed up into a tree to look out over everybody. Now, imagine a grown man climbing up in a tree in the middle of a crowd. People probably thought he was crazy, or weird. But Zach was willing to look weird if it meant getting closer to Jesus. From up in the tree, Zach watched as Jesus walked up. Jesus said, "Zacchaeus, hurry down. Today is my day to be a guest in your home." This was kind of like a famous person inviting themselves over, except way better. This invitation would change Zach's life. Zach scrambled down the tree to take Jesus to his house. Maybe he thought Jesus didn't know about all the money he had taken, or how everybody hated him. But Jesus did know, and he loved Zach anyways. Other people saw this and they were mad. They said, "Jesus has gone into the house of a sinner." They wondered how Jesus could love somebody who had lied and stole their money. The great thing is, Jesus loves all of us, even after we've done things we deserve to get in trouble for, or even after we actually get in trouble. When we see that Jesus loves us anyway, it makes us want to show that kind of love to others. At least that's what happened to Zach. Right away, he wanted to make things right with the people he had hurt. He knew that just saying "I'm sorry" wasn't enough. So he told Jesus, "I'm going to give half of what I have to the poor, and anyone I cheated, I will pay back 4 times the amount of money I took." When Jesus saw that Zach was willing to accept his love and turn around and show it to others, he said, "My friend, today God has rescued you." And even though Zach had been a liar and a thief who was hated by everyone, he became a friend of Jesus and a part of God's family that very day. And that's the story of Zacchaeus.
Now we're going to think about 3 words and the way that they were used in the past in church and the way that maybe we could use them today. Belong, believe, and behave. So in a society with church at its centre, where church is both familiar to people and they have the general values and beliefs that people find in churches, then it's quite easy to say, if you believe and behave, then you will find a sense of belonging. And for many, many years, that worked very well for the church in this country. As our society has become less and less familiar with church, and further away from Christian values at its core, people have thought about allowing people to belong and then discovering that when they do, believing and behaving actively follow as they meet, encounter and experience Jesus Christ. When we look back at stories about Jesus, such as the one with Zacchaeus, often to do with Jesus approaching people who were outcasts from the religious systems of their times, it often appears that Jesus put belonging and accepting first, and then once people had encountered them, they very often believed and changed their behaviour very radically as they met Jesus Christ. But it started with belonging and accepting. Belong, believe, behave is a message for Christians who already belong in church, believe and behave, and want others to do the same. What would be the message from that group of people to those who do not feel that they belong or ever could? Come as you are, because how else is anybody going to come to church for the first time and seek God for the first time? But don't stay that way, because you should expect that your encounter with God and his followers would change you fundamentally forever. Here is a simple video that I found on YouTube advertising a church in America. I found it really inspirational. Why don't you watch it, listen, and see what you think?
Here's a few reasons why people don't go to church.
I can't come to church until I get my life together. Church is how I got my life together.
Church is filled with a bunch of hypocrites.
And there's always room for one more.
All they care about is your money.
They care about me, not about my money.
Is there some kind of dress code?
Yes, the code is wear some clothes.
Church, it just makes me nervous.
I was nervous at first, and then I felt right at home.
I'm not sure I believe everything that you believe.
But you can still belong.
Church is for wimpy, girly men.
You want to say that again?
If you knew me and what I've done, you wouldn't want me.
If you knew me and what I've done, you wouldn't be worried.
You can come to my church even if you were brought up Catholic,
Baptist,
Methodist,
Jewish,
Mormon,
Lutheran,
Pentecostal,
Presbyterian,
Church of Christ,
Southern Baptist.
a little bit of everything and a whole lot of nothing.
See, it's not about a religion, it's about a relationship.
So please, come to my church.
Where nobody's perfect,
Where beginners are welcome.
where socks are optional,
but grace is required.
Where forgiveness is offered.
Where hope is alive.
and where it's okay to not be okay. Really.
Here is a list of the 8 obstacles that the video spoke about which may stop people from feeling that they can belong in church. Have a read through them and try to remember what the answers that the video gave were. And here is a list of the 9 things that the video said were reasons that people would be able to belong if they came to that church. Now imagine that we were making the same video about our church. Go through a list of obstacles. You can take ones from the video if you like. Think of some answers. Again, you can steal them if you like some of the things in the video. And then go through a list of things that you would say make people belong. On the screen is a summary of the things that were obstacles and the things that made belonging from the video. just as a reminder to help us make our own. Once you've made some of your own, please do tell us about it. Ideally email using the church website, and we'll make a collection of what different groups have said about obstacles to joining church and what creates a sense of belonging.